Hi, this video will showcase employee data migration. We will move employee data in an XML file to a database. Let us begin. I'm in the file system. I have an employee.xml file. Let us check the contents of the file. It has employee ID, title, employee name, date of birth, qualification, state and salary information in the row node, and it has 6 rows. Let us go to Process Studio. I'm in Process Studio. I have created a project, Migrate XML Employee Data to a database. Let us search the XML input step, that is get data from XML. Drag it to the canvas. Let us configure its properties. For us, XML source is not defined in a field, hence we will leave it unchecked. In the file or directory, browse for the file or directory. Select the employee.xml. Now, since this path is same as the workflow current directory, let me parameterize and make it dynamic to the current workflow path. Add it to the list of files. In the Content tab, let us get the XPath nodes from the XML file. And as we noticed, our data is in the row node under the rows node. So we will select the second option. Make sure to select the correct node for the content you wish to capture. In our case, we want to store all the rows data. Hence, I have selected the second node in the list. Click OK. We'll leave the encoding. Check the namespace aware checkbox to make the XML document namespace aware. Check ignore comments to ignore all comments in the XML document while parsing. Check validate XML to validate the XML prior to parsing. Use a token when you want to replace dynamically in the XPath field value. The details are provided in the tooltip. The checkbox use token is related to Process Studio. Check this option if you want to use token inside the path field. The details are provided in the tooltip. Ignore empty file. Check this option to ignore empty files, although it is not a valid XML document. Enable the do not raise an error if no file. If you do not want the step to raise an error when no files are found. The limit field limits the number of rows. Provide a 0 to read all the rows. Prune path to handle large file. You can check the include file name in output and provide a field name value. You can also check the include file name in output and row num in output if you wish to have these in the output. And the add files to result file names will include the file in the stream in the next step. Let us go to the Fields tab, Get Fields, so we can see all the fields in the row node of the XML file. You can preview the rows so we can see all the records in the file. You can also configure additional field names if you want to get more file details. Click OK. We have completed configuring the Get Data from XML step. Now let us search for the table output step. Drag and drop it to the canvas. Let us configure the step. First of all, we have to create a connection using the new button or the wizard. Let's select the new button. Provide a connection name. Let us provide employee database. Our connection type is Postgres, and we'll leave the default driver. In my case, it's localhost. Database is bankdb. The port number is the default 5432. Username and my password. Test the connection. Connection is OK. So click OK. Now browse for the target schema. It is public. Browse for the target table. It's employee master. And you can optionally check the truncate table to truncate the table before inserting data. You can check to specify database fields. You have other options of partitioning data, batch updates, the table name defined in a field. No, in our case, we actually selected the table name. And we don't need a key generation at the moment. So I'll go to the next Database Fields tab. Make sure you enable the Specify Database Fields checkbox so that these buttons are enabled. Click the Get Fields. You can view the SQL. So the table already exists. Hence, it is showing an alter table command. But we don't need to execute it right now because we already have the table and there are no changes. Close. Click OK. The workflow is complete and we are ready to execute it. Let us run the workflow. The workflow is complete. You can preview the data of the Get XML step. It shows all the records in the XML and in the table. Let us check the table contents. So I have pgadmin open here. Let me check the contents of the employee master. Earlier there were no records and now it has inserted the 6 records. Thus we saw how to migrate data between an XML file and table output. We saw the configurations of the get data from XML and the table output steps. We saw how to configure the get data from XML and table output steps to migrate the employee data. Thank you for watching.